You think if a man really wants you, he'll chase you, he'll pursue, text first, make plans, and move heaven and earth to win you over. But here's the truth. No one's telling you. Men don't chase unless something specific happens first. In fact, a man can be wildly attracted to you, think about you constantly, even tell his friends about you, and still never lift a finger to pursue. Sounds backwards. It's not. It's psychological, strategic, and deeply rooted in how masculine energy operates. And if you don't understand what needs to happen before the chase begins, you could be sitting around waiting for a man who will never come after you, not because you're not enough, but because the conditions weren't right. Most women believe pursuit is automatic when attraction is strong enough, that if he's interested, he'll show it through action. But for men, it's different. There's a precise internal calculation that happens before a man decides to chase. And when that calculation lands in your favor, he shifts from casually interested to actively pursuing, from she's attractive to I need to make her mine. And no, it's not about playing hard to get. It's not about being the hottest woman in the room or having the most impressive life. It's something far more subtle. And the moment you understand this trigger, everything changes. If you've ever asked yourself, why do men show interest but never pursue? Why does he watch my stories but never ask me out? What makes a man finally decide to chase? You're about to get answers that will flip everything you thought you knew. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly what has to happen first before a man will ever chase you. And trust me, once you see it, your entire approach to dating transforms. Let's talk about the real reason he's not chasing you, because chances are it has nothing to do with how beautiful, interesting, successful, or available you are. It's not about whether you're responding to his messages fast enough, posting the right photos, or being mysterious enough. Those are surface level distractions. The truth runs much deeper, and it's often completely invisible. Here's what's really going on. Most men don't chase unless they perceive something specific about the dynamic between you. And that perception, it's not about you proving your worth. You can't perform your way into being chased. You can't convince him into it. Men don't operate on a system where more effort from you equals more pursuit from him. In fact, often it's the opposite. Men are wired to pursue challenges that feel winnable. Not impossible challenges, not guaranteed victories, but something in between. A man needs to sense possibility mixed with uncertainty. He needs to feel like you're interested enough that pursuit makes sense, but not so available that there's nothing left to discover or earn. Until a man hits that sweet spot in his perception, he won't chase. He might enjoy your attention. He might even feel attracted, but something critical will be missing. He won't feel that internal pull to move toward you. He'll stay in observation mode, always assessing, always half in, never fully committed to the pursuit. What most women don't realize is that chase behavior isn't just about how he feels about you. It's about how he feels about his chances and what pursuing you says about him. If a man senses you're too available, his instinct to chase shuts down because there's no tension, no stakes, no reward in winning what's already his. If he senses you're completely unavailable or uninterested, his instinct also shuts down, because why invest energy in something that feels like a dead end? The chase requires a specific emotional context, and that's where the disconnect happens. You're showing more interest, being warmer, getting closer, while he's emotionally staying put, confused by his own lack of motivation to pursue, not because you're not enough, but because that key internal trigger hasn't activated yet. Until it does, the chase won't begin. No matter how perfect you seem on paper or how strong the chemistry feels when you're together, the pursuit simply won't ignite because the conditions aren't aligned. But the good news, those conditions can be created. And when they are, everything changes. So what is it? What is the one thing that changes everything? The thing that finally makes a man stop hesitating, stop observing from the sidelines, and start actively pursuing you with intention and consistency. It's not a trick, it's not a game, and it's not something you manufacture artificially. It's something that gets activated in him when the dynamic shifts in a specific way, The one thing that changes everything is perceived value combined with uncertainty. Until a man experiences a moment where he sees you as high value, someone who elevates his life, his status, his emotional world, and simultaneously feels uncertain about whether he can actually have you, he won't chase. He might be interested, he might be attracted, he might even think you're great. But perceived value with uncertainty is what creates the magnetic pull that drives masculine pursuit. Here's the key. Men don't chase because you're perfect. They chase when they feel something rare with you, something that stands out from every other option, something that breaks through the noise of modern dating, where everyone is accessible all the time. That shift happens when he connects your presence to a sense of elevation and scarcity, when you're not just another person he can talk to, but someone who genuinely adds something unique to his life. Someone whose attention feels valuable because it's not freely given to everyone. Someone who makes him feel like a better version of himself when he's around you. In that moment, you stop being someone he casually likes and become someone he actively wants to pursue. That's perceived value combined with uncertainty. And the reason this is so rare, most women are taught to show interest clearly, to be warm and available, to meet men halfway. But in doing that, they unintentionally remove the uncertainty. And a man can feel that. It removes tension. It removes the thrill of pursuit. It keeps everything comfortable but flat. On the other hand, when you're grounded in your own worth, when your energy says, I'm selective about who I invest in, and when you create space between interest and availability, you activate something primal in masculine psychology. That's when the chase begins. This isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about creating the conditions where his instinct to pursue can organically activate, because he feels like pursuing you is exciting, challenging, and worth the investment. It could be a moment where you're warm, but end the conversation first. A time when you show interest but maintain your own plans and priorities. An interaction where you're present but not trying to lock down his commitment. These micro moments are powerful. They signal value without desperation, openness without availability, interest without need. When that combination clicks, a man doesn't just think about you, he feels compelled to act. He begins to worry that if he doesn't pursue, someone else will. That if he doesn't make a move, he'll lose the opportunity. That's the beginning of real pursuit, the kind that's driven by genuine desire, not obligation. And once a man hits that level of internal motivation, his energy changes. He initiates, he plans, he pursues, not because you convinced him to, but because he can't imagine not trying. That's the one thing, and it changes everything. Let's clear something up, because this confusion stops more women from being chased than almost anything else. Interest is not pursuit, and attention is not the same as action. They may look similar at first, but they come from completely different places in a man's mind. And if you don't know how to spot the difference, you can waste months reading signs that were never leading anywhere. Interest is passive. It's easy. It costs him nothing. A man can be interested in you, watch your stories, like your photos, respond when you reach out, even flirt when you're together. But interest without pursuit is just entertainment. It's him enjoying your presence without any intention to invest further. There's no risk, no effort, no real skin in the game. Pursuit, on the other hand, is active. It's intentional. It requires him to put himself out there, to risk rejection, to expend energy and time. Pursuit says, I'm willing to work for this. Interest says, I like this when it's convenient. That's why you can't measure a man's feelings by his interest level alone. You have to watch what he does. Does he initiate? Does he make plans? Does he follow through? Does he create opportunities to see you? Or does he just respond when you create them? Here's the real test. Interest keeps things comfortable and low stakes. Pursuit creates forward momentum. Interest is reactive. Pursuit is proactive. Interest waits for you to make things easy. Pursuit works to make things happen. So how do you know if he's actually pursuing you or just interested? Watch his behavior when you pull back slightly. Does he step forward, or does he let the connection fade? Is he creating the next interaction, or is he always waiting for you to do the work? Is he investing time, energy, and planning, or is he just available when it's convenient? A man who's interested enjoys your presence when it's in front of him. A man who's pursuing actively works to put himself in your presence. The problem is many women mistake interest for pursuit. They see his likes, his responses, his occasional flirty text, and they think he's chasing. But he's not. He's just passively engaged. And because that feels like something, they keep investing, keep initiating, keep hoping it will turn into more. But pursuit doesn't evolve from interest simply because you keep showing up. Pursuit happens when something inside him shifts, when the dynamic creates the conditions where he feels motivated to act. So if you're wondering whether he's pursuing you or just interested, ask yourself, am I doing most of the work here or is he? And even more importantly, does this feel like momentum or maintenance? Because interest maintains, pursuit moves things forward. What if I told you there's a hidden trigger inside every man, a specific psychological switch that, once activated, transforms passive interest into active pursuit? This isn't some outdated dating rule or manipulative tactic. It's a fundamental response rooted in masculine psychology that explains why some women get pursued relentlessly while others, equally attractive and interesting, get stuck in the interest zone forever. This trigger is connected to something deeply primal, the intersection of challenge, reward, and self-concept. Men, unlike women, often don't pursue based on emotion or connection alone. Instead, they pursue when chasing you aligns with their identity and feels like a worthwhile conquest. It's about feeling like pursuing you makes them more of who they want to be. The pursuit trigger happens in moments when a man perceives that winning you over would be meaningful, that it would say something significant about him, his desirability, his capability, his status. It's not about arrogance or ego in a shallow sense. It's about the deep human need to feel capable and successful in areas that matter. When a man senses that pursuing you successfully would make him feel proud, accomplished, or validated, his brain releases dopamine and other chemicals that fuel motivation and action. This is what turns attraction into pursuit. Think about it like this. Attraction gets his attention. Chemistry keeps him engaged. But the pursuit trigger is what makes him act. And here's the kicker. This trigger doesn't get activated by chasing him, begging for attention, or making yourself overly available. It's often activated by the opposite, by you being someone whose attention and affection feel valuable precisely because they're not easily obtained. This is why emotional scarcity is so critical. Men instinctively pursue what feels rare or special. When you create a dynamic where your time, attention, and energy are given selectively, you signal high value. This makes pursuit feel worth the effort. It transforms you from just another option into someone worth working for. It's also important to understand that this trigger looks different for every man. Some need to feel like you're admired by others, creating social proof. Others need to feel like you challenge them intellectually or emotionally. And some need to feel like winning you over would be a story worth telling. The key is to tune into what drives him, what matters to his self-concept, and naturally embody qualities that make pursuing you feel aligned with his identity. Once this pursuit trigger is activated, chasing. You no longer feels like work or risk. Instead, it feels like opportunity, like something he wants to do because it serves his deeper sense of purpose and identity. In other words, this trigger is the secret behind consistent masculine pursuit. It's the psychological catalyst that moves a man from passively interested to actively invested. And the best part, it's not about being someone you're not or playing hard to get in a fake way. It's about genuinely living in your value and allowing him to experience the natural tension that comes from wanting something he hasn't fully secured yet. Once you understand this, you'll stop chasing men and start naturally attracting pursuit. Challenge is often misunderstood in dating advice. People hear be a challenge and think it means play games, be cold, or act disinterested, but that's not what creates genuine masculine pursuit. Real challenge isn't about manipulation. It's about presence combined with boundaries. It's about being someone whose life, values, and standards naturally create a dynamic where your attention and affection must be earned. For a man to be truly motivated to pursue, he has to feel like you're worth the effort, and that effort is required. When you're too available, too accommodating, too quick to rearrange your life around his, you remove challenge. And without challenge, there's no pursuit. Not because men are shallow or game playing, but because the human brain is wired to value what requires investment. Men may not always articulate this consciously, but they respond to it instinctively. When challenge is present, it signals several things. First, it signals that you have options, that other people value you, which triggers social proof and competition. Second, it signals self-respect, that you won't settle for low effort or unclear intentions. Third, it signals standards, that you know what you want and won't compromise just to have someone. All of these create a psychological context where pursuing you feels exciting and meaningful. Another important aspect is that challenge must be authentic. If you're creating artificial scarcity by playing hard to get while secretly obsessing over him, he'll sense the incongruence. But when you genuinely have a full life, priorities, passions, and boundaries that exist independently of him, that natural challenge is magnetic. It invites him to step up because there's real value in earning your time and attention. Challenge also creates space for him to be masculine. When everything is easy and handed to him, there's no room for him to demonstrate his pursuit capability, his problem solving, his ability to win you over. Men are biologically and psychologically wired to find satisfaction in the pursuit itself. When you remove challenge, you remove his opportunity to feel that satisfaction. It's also worth noting that many men fear challenge because they associate it with rejection or difficulty. But when a woman presents challenge in a non-threatening, authentic way, it reframes what pursuit means. He begins to understand that challenge isn't a barrier, but an invitation to show up at his best. This mindset shift is what transforms hesitant interest into committed pursuit. Challenge also creates emotional investment. When a man has to work for your attention, time, and affection, he becomes psychologically invested in the outcome. This investment deepens his feelings because humans naturally value what they've worked for more than what came easily. In short, challenge is the fuel for masculine pursuit. It's what transforms attraction into action. By maintaining your standards, living fully in your own life, and not being overly available, you naturally create the challenge that makes him want to pursue. And that pursuit, rooted in genuine challenge, is what leads to respect, investment, and lasting connection. When it comes to being pursued, many women unknowingly make mistakes that shut down masculine pursuit before it even begins. These mistakes aren't born out of bad intentions. They're often the result of outdated advice, anxiety about losing connection, or simply not understanding what drives men to chase. Recognizing these hidden pitfalls is the first step to shifting your approach and opening the door to genuine pursuit. One of the biggest mistakes is over-initiating contact, whether it's always texting first, making all the plans, or constantly checking in. This behavior removes the space a man needs to pursue. When you're always filling the gap, he never has to step forward. Men pursue what feels like it might slip away, not what's always reaching toward them. Another common error is being too available too quickly. Dropping your plans the moment he asks to see you, always being free when he wants to hang out, or constantly prioritizing his schedule over yours sends the message that your time isn't valuable. This removes scarcity, and without scarcity, there's no urgency to pursue. Men need to feel like your time is something worth competing for. Over-explaining your feelings or pushing for clarity too soon is another trap. When you're constantly asking where things are going, what he's thinking, or whether he sees a future, you create pressure that kills the organic development of pursuit. Men pursue when they feel pulled by their own desire, not pushed by your need for answers. Trust builds through action over time, not through forced conversations about commitment. Many women also underestimate the power of mystery. Sharing everything immediately, being completely transparent about your interest, or laying all your cards on the table removes the intrigue that fuels curiosity and pursuit. Mystery doesn't mean being fake or withholding. It means allowing him to discover you over time rather than front-loading everything in the beginning. Another mistake is tolerating low-effort behavior. Accepting sporadic texts, vague plans, or last-minute invitations teaches him that minimal effort is enough to keep you interested. When you accept low investment, you signal that you don't require pursuit. Boundaries aren't about being difficult. They're about teaching people how to treat you. When you hold standards kindly but firmly, you invite him to rise to the occasion. Many women also confuse chemistry with pursuit. When there's strong attraction, they assume he's pursuing when really he's just enjoying the connection without putting in work. Chemistry is passive. Pursuit is active. Understanding this difference prevents you from investing in situationships that never progress. Lastly, seeking validation through his pursuit rather than living in your own value creates desperate energy. When your worth is tied to whether he chases you, it shows. Men can sense when their pursuit is needed to fill a void versus when it's simply appreciated. Self-assured energy attracts pursuit. Needy energy repels it. These mistakes aren't T failures. They're simply patterns you can recognize and adjust. Awareness gives you the power to stop blocking your own pursuit and start creating the dynamic where men naturally want to chase you. The key is to trust your value, maintain your boundaries, and allow pursuit to unfold naturally without forcing, chasing, or shrinking yourself. Attraction creates interest, but if you want a man to consistently pursue you with intention and effort, you have to learn how to turn that initial spark into sustained chase. This transformation is what separates women who get casual attention from those who inspire devoted pursuit. But how exactly do you make that shift? It's not about grand gestures or manipulative games. It's about cultivating the right dynamic, maintaining your value, and creating ongoing intrigue. The first step in turning attraction into pursuit is understanding that attraction alone is